Hi, welcome to Oma's Kitchen.
Oregano.
Over the years, neighbors and friends who grew up in Mexican households have taught me to make both sweet and spicy traditional tamales. Those recipes have been the foundation for developing my own pepper and pineapple tamales. You will need 6 to 8 fresh Anaheim peppers, which is what I'm using here. You can also use poblanos or hatch green chilies. Just see what your local grocer has. Split it in half so that it will lay flat on a cookie sheet. And there's usually a little strip in the center that contains most of the seeds. Just cut that out. Then lay both sides, skin side up, on a cookie sheet covered in aluminum foil. Once you have all of your peppers seeded, set your broiler to high and roast them for 10 to 15 minutes until the skin is brown and bubbly. Check on them often to make sure they don't burn. You will need 1 package of dried corn husks. These will be the wrappers. I separate and rinse them in a colander in the sink, but they still need to be softened. So I fill a large, tall pot with very warm water, and I put the corn husks in vertically. I add some extra warm water on top, and I invert the lid to help push them down into the warm water. I set them aside and let them soften while I assemble the ingredients for the tamales. My peppers are done roasting in the oven. As soon as I can touch the foil they roasted on, I wrap it up around them and seal it shut on the sides. This will create some steam inside and help the skins come off easier. I let them sit in the aluminum foil for about 10 minutes. To prepare my steamer pot, I have washed 2 pennies, and those go into the bottom of my pot with the rack on top. And then I pour some water in to just below the rack. When the water is boiling in the bottom of your steamer, the pennies make a rattling noise. If you ever hear the pennies stop rattling, it means you're out of water and you need to add some more. I put my steamer pot on the stove on low so the water will be warm when I'm finished preparing the tamales. Now I can peel the roasted peppers. I get them out one at a time, and the skin is very loose. It's fairly easy to peel off, and you don't have to get all of it. What this does is it removes the papery skin from the peppers before you include them in the tamales. I cut them into strips and put them in a bowl so they're ready when I'm assembling. These are Anaheim peppers, and they're very mild. They're only slightly spicier than a green pepper. I have made these pineapple tamales with poblano peppers, which are a mild to medium heat, and also with hatch green chilies, which can be very spicy if you get the spicy variety. They come out great no matter which pepper you use. Put 1 cup of shortening into a large bowl and smear it around a little bit. You want to loosen it up so that it will mix in well with your dough. You will need some corn masa mix. This is the brand that I use. And you're going to want to mix 3 cups of that in a medium bowl. In the recipe I will put up, I include 3.5 cups. It will depend on how wet your pineapple is. Start with 3 cups, then add in a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon and a half of baking powder. Add a half a cup of cane sugar and then mix it together well. After opening your can of pineapple, try to drain as much of the juice into a measuring cup as you can. And then add enough water to make 2¼ cups of the water and juice mixture. Pour that in with your masa mixture and just mix it around a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely mixed in. You just want to mix it a little bit before you add it to your Crisco. Add it into the large bowl and mix. While I'm mixing those together, I'll put the recipe up here for you. Then add in your drained pineapple. And once you mix that in, you may notice that your masa is a little too wet. This is why the recipe says 3 to 3.5 cups of the cornmeal. Just mix that in at the end. What you want is a very thick dough you can spread onto the corn husks. And here's my pineapple masa. I like to cover it over with plastic wrap and just open one side of it as I'm assembling the tamales. I place several corn husks into the bottom of my steamer pot and on top of the rack. It's just to create a barrier between the boiling water and the tamales. Now it's time to assemble. On a clean dishcloth, I dry the corn husk a little bit. And then I use about a heaping tablespoon of the masa dough. Once I smear that out a bit, I add about another half of a tablespoon. Then I place several strips of the peppers onto the masa, and I roll one side over the other, just like that. Fold up the end and roll it over on itself. And that's a tamale. I lay it into the bottom of my steamer pot, and I will lay them in circles as I go up. Here's the next one. About a heaping tablespoon of masa onto the corn husk at about the halfway point. Spread it out a little bit. Add another half tablespoon. Spread that out. A couple of strips of pepper right down the center. Use the corn husk to roll it over itself. Fold in the end and roll it over. Last one I'll show. Fold it over. Roll up the end. Roll it over on itself. Put it in the pot. Once I have quite a few done in the pot, I place it on the stove and get it started to boil. It takes it a little while. I do that while I finish up the last few tamales. As your pot starts to boil, place the lid on top and steam them for an hour. You'll hear the pennies jumping around in there. Even though I still hear the pennies, I like to add about a cup of hot water to the pot at about the 40-minute point, and then finish steaming them for another 20 minutes. After an hour, I open my pot up and I use tongs to get them out. Pile them up on a plate and they're beautiful. Tamales. Really, it's just unwrapping. When they're steamed right, you get the little ridges. Can you see the pattern from the corn husk on the dough when they're done right? Oh yeah. Look at that. I'm gonna try it. You get the other half. Okay. Hot. These are medium Anaheim chilies, and also in with this dough is pineapple and a little sugar and some pineapple juice. So you get the sweet from the pineapple, and then you get that little bit of spice from the roasted Anaheim chilies. So these turn out really good. We had these with easy bean burritos and homemade salsa, but these tamales would pair very well with a peach salsa or a mango salsa. And there you have it, Anaheim pepper and pineapple tamales. Thank you for joining me in Oma's Kitchen. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll upload more tasty videos soon, and a special shout out to Moon Pie and Lil Bit. Till next time.
Oregano.